Welcome to our final contest conversation leading up to the deadline for the 2021 Word Awards. This week, I am so excited to welcome Ruth Coghill and Sara Davison. Ruth Coghill is an international speaker, author, and podcaster. Her ministry, Words to Inspire, encourages and equips others to embrace the powerful truths found in God's Word. In 2019, Ruth felt compelled to set aside the writing of the fourth book in the Wow Bible Study series in order to collect stories of those impacted by abortion. She's also joined by Sara Davison, the author of three romantic suspense series, the Seven Trilogy, the Night Guardians, and the Rose Tattoo Trilogy. She has been a finalist for 10 National Writing Awards and is a Word and Cascade Award winner. And Sara helped with contributing to editing within this book and a section near the end. She currently resides in Ontario, Canada, with her husband, Michael, and her three children. So Ruth and Sara are Sara, as the editor for Untold, Unborn, experienced many occasions of watching God perform the impossible, bringing the book to its completion in record time. Ruth has also gone on to found the Unborn Movement, sharing our stories impacting our culture, which I can't wait to talk about with her during our interview today. So thank you so much, ladies, for joining us today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And I would love to start by chatting with Ruth about how you decided to start into this particular ministry, a little bit more about your ministry in general, and your writing journey, specifically this book here.
Well, Words to Inspire, empowering others through God's word has always been for a long time in my heart. And in 1999, I started with a group of people that wanted to learn how to do their testimonies. And then it just morphed into then more of Bible study teaching. And now we are with the fourth book in the Wow series, Woman of Worth, Woman of the Word, Woman of Wisdom. And I'm finishing Woman of Worship. And we now have three of those books translated into the Nepalese language, which is pretty exciting to see those women embrace God's word in this way.
That's amazing. And I forgot to mention that you two were the winners of this 2020 your Deborah Fieguth Social Justice Award for this novel, for this book. This particular story, what inspired you to want to write about people's experiences with unplanned pregnancies and with abortion?
In several years ago, 30 years ago, Bob and I were expecting our fourth child, and at that point we were offered an abortion. It was never in my mind at the time, and so it was quite shocking. And so from then on, it was in my heart that there are many reasons that women choose difficult circumstances in which they find. And I wanted to explore that a bit more. And then in 2019, our grandson, from the son we were offered to abort,
Oh,
he
wow.
was born. And that was the moment in the hospital holding our little grandson. I knew that it was time to tell the story that there is a generational blessing from choosing life.
Oh, what a wonderful story to see come from that, and then seeing the fruits of that come forward into this beautiful story. One of the things that we like to do during our contest conversations is share a small section from the book so that people have a chance to hear a little bit of what the writing is. And so we've chosen a section from about the middle of the book, story number 9, and this is called Secret Sorrow by Michelle Robertson. And I'd like to read that now so that we can have a better sense of some of the stories that were contributed to this collection. Nobody truly understood how incredibly gracious God had been in my life because I couldn't talk about it. God had forgiven me, but I guess I still hadn't forgiven myself. I continued to drag around the chains of conviction, even though God had released me from the penalty of my sin. Imagine someone being released from prison, but having to keep their hands shackled. That isn't true freedom. I was useless and weak and ineffective servant for Christ. I felt worthless. I was forgetting about so many promises I had been reading about in the Bible. When God uses us in our weakness, it magnifies his strength. As it says in 2 Corinthians 12:9, But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. I was so focused on the pain and shame that I was missing out on the blessings that came with God's forgiveness, grace, and mercy. There is healing when you walk with God. Emotional and spiritual pain can be replaced by joy and hope when God moves in your life. Such beautiful and hopeful words. How is it for you being able to collect these stories, having your own experience and seeing joy come out of that and hearing these women share so vulnerably?
Well, the impact of God's word in my own life has been so tremendous. And one of the keys in all of my writing is the power of God's word. And Sara and I both knew that we wanted to offer these stories in a beautiful way, no condemnation, but to
Mhm.
get some of the truth of what women face and how so often they are not given options, so that the world would know uh, that there needs to be compassion, there needs to be grace, but we also want them to move beyond what they've experienced and allow God to enter into their lives.
So well put. And you've started out your own movement, the Unborn Movement, sharing our stories, impacting our culture. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
The impact of reading these stories and recognizing just how devastating this is to women. We're not often told of the devastating effects afterwards, and not only psychologically, but also physically. Now many studies are showing the physical repercussions of abortion. And so the movement is to make people more aware, also to join with a pregnancy center in your community, perhaps raise funds for an ultrasound machine. That's a wonderful way
Mm.
for women to see the reality of what is in their womb. But right now, we have several steps in our movement, but we're just getting started. So we have a bi-monthly online event with a contributor or someone else that's experienced abortion. Men have challenges too, so we love to feature men, but we are excited about targeting the church. We believe
Mm.
that the church has a great role to play in the community in relationship to this issue. And often we heard women say that they didn't feel welcome in the church, or they were afraid to tell their stories. They didn't feel safe. And I want to just report that early on, I asked my pastor if he would look at the stories and perhaps endorse the book. And he has joined right in. And we're together right now. We're putting together a pastor's packet. And he has written a letter to other pastors to open the conversation and to make a safe place for women and men that are impacted by this devastating,
Yeah.
devastating issue of our culture.
And what a wonderful starting point for that conversation through this book. And I think that that was rightly awarding you the Deborah Fieguth Social Justice Award, because this is such a difficult topic for so many people to want to talk about and to want to explore even within the church community. How for you has this spurred on your own writing beyond the organization that you now have? How has it helped to your writing journey by winning this award and feeling inspired through that?
Well, as I mentioned before, we wanted to have this book come out with compassion and love and God's grace. And so I didn't know much about Deborah Fieguth and the Social Justice Award. But when I discovered that her theme verse was from Matthew 25, where Jesus said, "Truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did to me."
Mm.
And it was like this journey of not only seeing that this is a worthy cause to tell stories, but to continue to tell the stories as if Jesus is pleased that we are looking after these, not only the most vulnerable in the womb, but also those that are left behind that
Mhm.
are impacted so dramatically.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. It's a wonderful reason. And I love that you paired it with the biblical reason behind the award as well. That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
What's coming up next for you? Is there more books in your future? Are you going back to the Wow series?
Well, I'm trying to finish that fourth book, working on that right now, Woman of Worship. But there's a devotional on the go that would kind of come alongside the book, Unborn, Untold. And we've got a number of contributors that want to impact others with their devotional. And there will be another book that will be in the idea of the untold. I'm not revealing everything yet, but it's certainly stirring, and we've got some possibilities coming up.
I love your smile because it's got this like sneaky excitement to it. That's a sign of somebody who's very excited about things to come. That's so exciting to see. Do you have any advice for someone who might be tuning in now live or in the future when they're watching the video afterwards, who is thinking about entering this year's award? They might be specifically looking at entering a piece of writing related to social justice. What kind of advice would you share with them?
Well, put the foot in the water, get the toe wet, and just do it. You know, when we first started out on this journey, I had no idea how this was going to come about, because I had my story and two other stories of women that had kind of whispered in my ears at different points of time that didn't want anybody to know about their abortion story. But I prayed and said, Lord, I don't know how to do this, but you do. And I sensed this very strong impression in my spirit: watch me. And so the journey was very much asking God to show me how to do it. And I believe he wants to be so involved in our writing journey. It's like a worship to me, to just allow him to flow through whatever I am doing. Of course, I definitely need the help of my editor, Sara, but I still just am excited about how much God cares about our writing journey. And I believe the more that we include him and are willing to take those steps of faith, regardless of what the outcome, we've all had rejections, but when we do that, it's part of the process and it's part of the journey. So get that toe wet, and then your ankle, and then up to your knee, and then just go all in and dive in.
I love that. And you still have 2 days if you are tiptoeing along the edge and thinking about entering this year. We would highly recommend that you do so. And any advice, Sara, if you'd like to chime in, you are welcome to. Any advice around working with an editor or having someone preview your work prior to entering, or in writing in general, working with an editor to support your writing journey? How has that worked for you, and any recommendations that you have?
Yeah, well, I absolutely would recommend that people do that. It's really unbelievable to me that you can read and completely see in other people's work what's good and what works and what doesn't. And yet when you come to your own work, for some reason, we just really can't. And so, I mean, the work doesn't have to be really ready for publication necessarily for the awards, but obviously the best that you can make it, the better your chances. And that always requires another set of eyes.
And I'm going to give a shout out to Sara, even though she probably doesn't want me to. When I entered the Word Awards many moons ago in the beginning, Sara was one of the people who I went to afterwards and said, hey, can you help me take my writing to the next level before I go and put it out to query and submit to publishers and agents? And I don't think if Sara had reviewed my manuscript while I was writing it and revising it, that I would have had any chance of having an agent or a publication contract. So there is power in partnering with editors, and Sara is brilliant. I apologize in advance if you now get 20 different people emailing you. Excellent. Well, thank you so much, ladies. We do have a little bit of time. If somebody does have questions and they would like to ask them, they can put them in the chat, or they are welcome to put up your hand. There's a hand feature. We can try and recognize you that way, but the chat is often easier because that way we don't have to worry about interrupting each other. I do have a question for the ladies. If while we're waiting for if anybody else has questions, I'd love to know from you where we can get a copy of your books, specifically this one. But if there's other books, where can we find out more about you and your writing, and what is going to be happening next? I'll start with you, Ruth. Oh, you're muted.
Head right over to our website, wordstoinspire.ca. We've got a great little promo on now with Precious Feet. And of course, they're all on Amazon as well. But we love having you visit our website.
Excellent. And we'll make sure to make a comment about that as well when we're posting the video. And Sara, if people are interested in partnering you with editing or interested in hearing more about your many, many romantic suspense novels, how could they find out more about you?
Well, my website is just saradavison.org. So you can look me up there. You can subscribe to my once a month newsletter that will let you know what's going on. And of course, books are available anywhere online, Amazon, whatever.
I love it. Thank you so much, ladies. We have a question from Carol Ford. Are you doing speaking engagements? I think that might be related to Ruth.
Absolutely.
Yes. Tell us a little bit about what those are coming up.
Well, speaking, of course, right now is online. I'm doing Bible study teaching from my first and second book, and then we're doing the online Unborn Movement videos, Facebook Live. The next one is May 5th at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Facebook Live, if you go to the Unborn Movement Facebook page, you can join up there and it'll come live. If you want to be on our mailing list, just email me, Ruth at wordstoinspire.ca, and we'll add you to a mailing list as well.
Excellent. And I've heard wonderful things about your speaking. As we can see within your interview today, you're just a natural and you light up the screen, as I'm sure you would light up the room as well. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining us today. If there aren't any other questions, we will bid you warmly goodbye, but we encourage everyone who, again, is listening today, if you have a piece of work that you have been tiptoeing around submitting for the Word Awards, you, again, are running out of time very, very quickly, and we would strongly encourage you to enter. It is a fantastic way to not only receive some feedback as to where you can go next with your work, but also to give you inspiration and motivation to continue writing and pursue other things within your writing journey. So thank you again, ladies. We had a great time chatting with you today. Oh, sorry, I see Donna. Before we go, Donna's hand is up. Donna, what question would you like to ask?
I was just going to say, Tara, that how important writing groups are. And
Yes.
There are 4 of us on this review here that have been in a writing group for a lot of years together, and it's just made such a difference. It keeps me going anyway. And also Heidi has been in our group off and on too. So yeah, it makes a difference.
Tara, yes. I'd like to add to that as well, that I would say that's one of the best things for a new writer to do, is to get involved with a writer's group. Sara actually prodded me into joining with Donna and Heidi and Bev, and it was a tremendous blessing to be there and to have other people share with you the good and the bad and the ugly, but it surfaces and makes a big difference.
Absolutely.
Thank you all, ladies, for contributing to my writing journey.
I love that. And we chatted before about how before we started recording, how wonderful it is to have friends there to watch you in your journey, to help you along at each stage of the game, and to be there to congratulate you when you win amazing awards for your writing as well. So full circle for sure.
Sara, you've done a wonderful job.
Oh, thank you so much, Carol. This has been a lot of fun. I have had a great time, and hopefully we'll get a chance to do more of these once we have the 2021 awards coming through. And Donna has her hand up as well, so I'll just let her comment as well.
Actually, I was just applauding.
Oh, you're applauding. Excellent. Well, thank you so much, ladies. We will stay on after we finish stopping recording. So if anybody wants to just gab a little bit more and chat with Ruth, we'll do that as well. So thanks again, everyone.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks.